started. Okay, hi everybody. So excited to give you the weekend edition. It's a little bit late in the day, but I am here and I'm so excited to share. Sorry if the lighting is a little bit funky, but it's late at night and my lights are not all working. So we have already discussed the first step of this epic spiritual fitness plan of ours. The first step, if you remember, was to feel the burn, to not be okay with that everything is fine in our lives, and that fine is actually not fine anymore. We are going to actually feel the burn and do what we need to do in order to get out of fine and get into greatness, which is where we want to be, especially this month. Then step 2, we said, was auditing. We're going to inspect ourselves and look inside of ourselves and decide what needs work. We're going to be very, very honest about that and listen to other people's honesty as well. And then decide what is priority and what we need to work on now, because we can't work on everything now. We can only work on 1 or 2 things this month. Okay, the next step is to commit. Any kind of action that you want to take is okay, but you have to do an action now, tonight, this moment, as soon as you're done the video, or as soon as it's humanly possible. And you shouldn't wait till Monday, and you shouldn't wait till after Shabbat is over. It should be done immediately, because if it's not, we're likely to keep pushing it off. The truth is, we're really never going to feel like doing it. I want you to imagine the stereotypical guy and girl who are dating, and the girl is saying to the guy that she wants to get married already, and why won't he commit to her, and that he's stringing her along, and finally says, you know what, yes, don't worry, we're going to get married. Is she going to accept that? No, she wants a ring. She's not going to hear, I'm going to marry you, until she sees a ring, or she's not going to accept it until she has a wedding date. She needs something concrete. In order to really totally accept that we are in the mode of change, we have to do something concrete. You know, there's an emphasis on something called a mitzvah, a commandment. What are commandments? They're behaviors. Why is there this emphasis on behaviors? Because we need to teach ourselves, our bodies, how to plug in to spirituality. Our bodies are not spiritual creatures. They're quite the opposite. So the only way to teach them is by having them physically do something. And even if we're not in the mood to do it. You know, when I started dieting, I was not in the mood to use this iron gym that I bought, or the weights, or the elliptical, but there was never going to be a right time and a time that I did it, that I felt like it. So it was just a matter of doing it. And do you know what happens? Whether I feel like it or not, as soon as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm eating healthy, or I'm exercising, or whatever that habit is, I'm going to see results. I'm entering a new reality, a new realm. The result is going to be that I am going to be healthy, be fit, lose weight, as long as I follow these action steps, whether my head is in the game or not. Is it better to have your head in the game? Of course, we want to have everything, but it's okay to start with a behavior, and sometimes we have to. Even Shabbat is a good example. Sometimes people have a hard time with keeping all the observances of Shabbat, and maybe a Tuesday would be a better day to do it. But if we want to plug into the spirituality that Shabbat has to offer us, we have to do the acts of observing Shabbat on Shabbat, whether we like it or not, whether it's convenient or not, and whether we feel like it or not. So do an act. It could be anything. For me, my first action steps, just so you know, in terms of dieting specifically, was I would go and look at videos of inspiring stories, or I would look at recipes that were healthy, or weekly menu plans or daily menu plans, and anything that kind of provided me inspiration I would do. Or I bought these machines and I started actually working out on them, because I didn't want to become a cliche and just have dusty machines in my house. Or I just started buying more of the kinds of foods that I knew I would be more likely to eat that were healthier. Okay, that is, and the perk of that is that after some time of being on the diet, I actually started to buy into it myself. I bought into the hype that I made my body commit to. I stopped being as tempted by, eating all the chocolate in the room, and I could much more easily pass over it and eat something else that's healthier. Okay, that was day 3, but I want to make this a weekend edition. So I'm going to tell you day 4, and I'm saving my Shabbat tips for weight loss at the end. This step 4 is actually quite quick. It's going to be to visualize. We want to have a very specific vision of what we want to look like at the end of all this. Whether it be in a year from now or in a month from now, you want to have a vision. But the truth is, it would be good to set the bar to where you really want to go, And then you can always tell yourself, okay, I'm going to get here before I get to Z, I'm going to get to B, C, D, and E. So how do we do this? If you have a role model or a mentor who is really great in this area, or even a friend who's really great in this area that you're working on, then you could really spend time just thinking about your friend. If you don't have a lot of private time to think, you could think in the shower, and you can think in your bed at night when you're trying to fall asleep, or wherever is a quiet space, maybe in the car. But it's important that we get quiet and we really think deeply about who is this person who's inspiring me to be more like this, and I want to get there too. So think about that person and then channel that person's energy and focus your energy on it as well. And another way that you can visualize, this is my last tip for step 4, is by actually making a vision board, which I did last year. I didn't do this year yet, but this was my vision board from last year. And as you can see, there's no pictures on my vision board, although ideally there would be, because they're more visual, but I do like the colors, and I have as few words as possible that I could get in there. So for me, this vision board is really helpful to hang up and remind myself what my goals are. So step 4 is visualizing in every possible way, because we are visual learners, who we are at right now and who we want to be and how we want to get there. Imagine if we work on it now. Okay, last but not least are my Shabbat diet tips. I have 2 big ones. They're huge, huge tips, because for me, they work really well. Just so you know, full disclosure, Shabbat is the hardest time for everyone. It's not just you. Yes, I have awesome meals in front of me that I also want to devour, and I look at my table full of stuff, and I also am tempted to just eat mindlessly, and that's fine. But I do find that these 2 tips really work in mitigating the damage that you can do to yourself on a time like Shabbat that's awesome and fun and with family and friends and a lot of food. My first tip to you is something that I don't know if you're going to like or not, but it's, again, just reality. You will lose weight if you eat less calories. So if you know you're going to be having a large meal, or you're going to be tempted to have a large meal, then saving calories is not a bad idea. So for me, I won't eat heavy. I won't eat as many calories as I normally would for breakfast and lunch on a Friday, in order so that I can kind of roll them over to my dinner. And on a Shabbat, on a Saturday, I don't eat, I really don't eat like they offer at our synagogue, at our shul. They offer all these treats in the morning and cakes and cookies, and I don't eat that stuff. I try to pretty much not have much of a breakfast either, so that at lunchtime I can sit down and have a fuller meal than normal. Okay, that's my first tip, is calorie saving. My second tip is, if you take your regular Shabbat menu, and I don't know how many of you make elaborate Shabbat menus, but for us, there's chicken and there's meat and there's kugels, which are like fatty casseroles, and there's heavy desserts. Like, that's our Shabbat every week. So what I did was I just added to it. I didn't take away anything from it, but I added a lot of salads and vegetable dishes, which if no one except for me eats, I can still eat during the week or on Sunday, so it doesn't go to waste. And I find that what I do is I'll take my plate, and 3/4 of it I'll fill with the vegetable stuff, whether it be salads or the roasted vegetables, and I try to make a few different varieties of them, so that it looks really exciting and other people want to eat it too. And I try to fill up my plate, and then I take much smaller amounts of the fattier foods that are full of calories. I hope those tips helped you. I hope you enjoyed the weekend edition of steps 3 and 4. So don't forget to visualize and take an action step, and I will see you for day 5. Shabbat Shalom.